Welcome back, everyone. Showing us how to repurpose treasured trinkets into fashionable accessories with her DIY resin jewelry is Orly. And Orly, I got to tell you, I've got a little bit of a selfish motivation for being here because I'm going to learn how to do this for Vanessa and for Layla. They're going to love it.
I'm telling you, this is such an incredible project. Not only because it's quite easy to do, so your kids can get involved in it, but it's really a way of like encapsulating something forever. So whether it's using fall foliage, things you can find around the yard, whether it's special jewelry, things that are sentimental, it's like it fossilizes it like forever.
I love
it's
that.
So cool.
I love that. Now I've seen some of this resin jewelry with flowers before, but like you say, some of the other things we can use flowers or trinkets or what else?
Yeah, jewelry. I mean, take a look down at this one here.
Okay.
This one was a bracelet, you know, sort of a sentimental piece, and it's beautiful. It's encapsulated in there. Even this right here, I love. These are pins. You know, and my grandmother taught me how to sew, and she's the one who taught me how to use pins. So every time I wear this, I'm just gonna think of that moment when I was, you know, 8 or 9 at my grandmother's house learning how to use pins and stuff. So really, anything that goes inside when it's in that bright, clear glass, it looks fancy schmancy.
It does, like just pins.
Yeah.
Just pins alone look fantastic in that.
Yeah,
Okay, so we got our decorative element to the bracelets, to the jewelry.
Yeah.
What other materials do we need to make this happen?
So you guys are gonna need to get a silicone mold. These are available in a variety of sizes and shapes. You can see it's just a squishy mold there, and that's what's gonna create our cuff. Over here, you can see there's also these versions which will work for all the different necklaces and things like that.
Yes.
So you can see how shallow they are. So you can make quite a few different things. You also are gonna need your resin. When you buy the resin, it's gonna come in a pack of 2. And that's because you need not only the resin, but you also need the hardener. It will not work without both parts.
That makes sense.
And then we're gonna need just like something to stir. So I'm just using a little tongue depressor, and then a couple of small straws, because that's gonna help us blow out the bubbles.
Okay.
All right, so first thing is, this is the hardener. I'm gonna pour the hardener into the resin.
And you do that right up, right at the top here.
Right at the top.
And you mix that up.
Exactly, and it's exactly equal parts. So make sure that you really scoop everything out, because it's equal parts, and that is important.
50-50, and then you mix it in there like that with whatever you've got.
And what you'll notice is that it starts to get kind of foggy. Right, it's no longer clear. It almost, you know, it starts to get super foggy and almost white looking.
So should you mix it until that starts to have almost like a chemical reaction?
Even more, and even more. You really want to make sure it's mixed really, really well. Take your time mixing it. This is a really important part of the process. So I'd say give it a good full minute of really getting in there and
And how do you know when it's ready to pour or ready to use?
It's going to look like this.
Okay.
You want to basically leave it now. You can see the difference in the color.
Yep.
You want to leave it now. Take your tongue depressor out. Just let it sit for a minute.
Great.
A lot of these bubbles are going to disappear on their own, and it's going to look more glass-like.
Okay,
so
good.
this one's ready to go.
Good.
So now we design. You pick whatever you want.
You pick whatever it is you want to put in its immortal state in the bracelet. Here we go.
Exactly. So what I'm going to do is, we have a couple of silk flowers here. What is cool about using silk flowers is that the color stays super vibrant. I did make a few with real flowers, and it looks cool, but you lose a little bit of the saturation.
Okay, that's good to know.
I did lavender, and it came out like almost like a green color. It entirely pulled the color out. So I'm just taking 2 little, you know, pieces, little branches.
You just jam them in there, you put them in there, you probably try to even it out as much as you can. Is that
And you can look. You can look around and see what it looks like. You can, before you pour the resin in, now is the time to sort of adjust it, push them down. If you want to, maybe you have a little gap and you want to add one, you can just pull one off and say, like, right there, I've got a gap, there's no flower.
One of your other examples that I really liked is that bracelet. So you do the same idea with the bracelet, you're just making sure it's even and flat all the way around, that kind of thing. So you're using the flowers. Okay. And now we're pouring the resin in there.
We're going to pour the resin in. So what you could use, especially if you're doing one of the tiny little pendants, you could use a little syringe. I've got a larger one here, so I'm just going to pour it, but a syringe like this, a tiny one's going to give you a little bit more control.
Okay.
Now you just pull back the center part here.
Sure.
You can see it. I'm just going to pull it back, and I'm just going to slowly pour it in.
All right.
And now
will that evenly distribute through the mold, or will you have to kind of like pop it in different areas?
It'll start to. So I'm going to let it go. I'm going to wait before what I don't want to do is let go of this, and then when it goes back, it's going to pop up.
It's just going to pop up. So you want it to go sideways.
Exactly. Nice and slow. Now move over maybe an inch. Pour another little bit, because you're going to do this a couple of times to make sure that it's fully even. So all that you want to do is keep going until you feel like the entire thing is full and even, and you can see it from the side. So I'm going to do one more, and then I want to show sort of an important step in the bubble
Even though
the
this
bubble
takes a
situation.
little bit of time, it's very user-friendly. This is something that I
yeah.
think that, Layla would have a blast doing.
Because honestly, once you mix up all your resin, you can just keep going and pour, make a ton of them all at once. It's really the process of making the resin.
Okay, so if you're pouring that in there and you got to make sure it's even, let's say that you're looking on the sides and you see some bubbles in there. You don't want bubbles necessarily in that.
This.
There you go. That's the answer.
I'm very talented.
Well, it's tricky.
See what I'm doing?
Yeah.
A little taparoo.
There's a real skill set there.
Yeah, you're gonna tap, tap, tap.
That's great.
Do that quite a bit. Sit down, watch a Hallmark movie, tap away.
Boom.
The next thing you want to do is get a little straw, and you're just gonna blow.
Now, what is happening here? Oh, I see. Are you drying it?
No, this will pop the bubbles, which is really satisfying to watch. So when you see all the bubbles on the top,
they'll start to rise up, and then you just kind of pop them with a little bit of...
Just a little bit of air will start to pop them, and you can also use a blow dryer on a really low setting so it doesn't blow the resin out, and the heat of it and the air of it will start to pop those as well.
That is, I was trying to figure out how the straws kind of played into it.
Yeah, it helps pop the bubbles, and it's actually really satisfying to watch it happen.
How long does it have to sit?
24 hours.
And
give it the full 24.
And then you get...
And we've got one that's done. And what's super cool is watch this. There's no process. There's no material that's needed. There's no anything. It comes right out.
Okay.
You don't need to run it under hot water or do anything like that.
The molds are fantastic.
Look at that.
Now there's a little bit of a rough. I mean, that looks amazing already. I love that color pop.
Yep.
How did you smooth it out?
So you might get a tiny rough edge on the one side, and that would basically be right here. If it overflows just a tiny bit, just a little bit of sandpaper, sand down those edges, and that's it. A soft. Use a fine grit though.
My stock as a father, you know what I mean? My stock just skyrocketed
this
right now.
This show
when
is
I bring
helping
this
your fatherhood
I'm telling you,
game.
I mean, it's no joke. They think it's just me, but really it's all of you fantastic people. Make sure you go to hallmarkchannel.com. All the full instructions are right there. Thank you so much, Orly.
Thank you.